Hey, hey! Another episode of the Well Balanced series, you guys. And today I'm talking to Anna Lynn, who is just a boss lady. She can do literally all the things. And we're going to speak about just healing frugally and like on a budget, where to start when it comes to wellness, and just approaching your nutrition healing journey, and all of that. And keeping in mind, what makes the most sense for you, and also just your budget, your timeline, all of that kind of stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and add her into this convo, and we'll get this party started. Here we go.
Hello.
Hi. How are
I'm so
you?
excited. Good. How are you?
Good. It's cold today, so I'm hanging out in chill mode.
Same here. It's like 30 something. It's freezing.
Where do you live at?
Cleveland area.
Ooh, then yeah.
The snow belt. It's so much fun.
Is it is it snowing there yet?
Not yet. We haven't really had any that has stuck, and I'm sure it'll be like after Christmas when I'm over it that it'll be here till like May.
Yeah, right. I know. Up near are you near like Cedar Point?
Yeah, I'm like an hour or so away from Cedar Point.
Nice. That's like one of the places I went when I was a kid. I loved that amusement park. That's great. I love it. Well, I'm super pumped to have you. Thank you for taking the time to chat and during your busy day. So I'm excited for this convo. But yeah, so basically, it's just a chance for women to hear different perspectives about wellness. Everyone's specific journey. We've all taken away different things, and then also focus on, what you're good at, obviously. And in your
Yeah,
case, I know that you have your non-toxic beauty business, which is amazing. And then also your new ebook, which have you released that yet?
I have not. It
Okay,
keeps growing.
nice.
I keep wanting to like cut it off, and then I just keep adding more stuff. So it's not done yet.
I know,
We're
right?
almost there.
Well, we'll talk about that too, and just in case people want to use that as a resource. But yeah, so we'll start with an introduction about you, what kind of got you into this space, and if you have any personal things to share with the audience.
Of course. So I have not always been holistically minded in any sense. I grew up going to the doctor for every little thing. I was born 3 weeks early, so I had a lot of issues growing up. And my mom did what any good mom would do that didn't have a holistic mindset either. And I was just in and out of the doctor constantly. And that led into when I got my first period at 13. From my first period, they were horrible. I remember being in pain before it came, and my Aunt
Mm-hmm.
Becky being like, "You're probably going to start your period for the first time." And I was like, I had never heard they were painful. So I was like, okay, well, this really sucks. And that was just normal for every woman in my family, women at church. The norm is painful, and that was never a red flag to anyone. That was just always taught, especially in older generations, that that's just what we go through because Eve ate the apple and here we are. And so I went to 8 different OBs between 13 years old and the last time I went, I think I was 19.
Wow.
And they put me on birth control right away because I had painful periods. There were no questions asked about diet, sleep, like my everyday life. Like I was a student athlete. So when I look back on it now, and I go into this in my book, but my schedule was very opposite of what like our bio-individual needs are. Like I was going to practice at 10 o'clock at night, and I was waking up early, going to school for 8 hours. Like I had no time for my body to adjust to the changes that were going on. And even though I ate whole foods, they weren't necessarily organic whole foods, and I'm sure I had a lot of packaged foods in my diet. And so looking back, there's so much that I contribute to my period pain coming from. But none of that was addressed by my doctors. And so I was put on the pill, and when the pill stopped working and the pain came back, their solution was to put me on a different brand of the pill. And then when that stopped working, they would up the dosage. And so pretty soon I'm taking some crazy dosage of birth control that's really not doing anything. And before I know it, like by the time I got to college, I didn't recognize who I was. I was making horrible life decisions. I was mouthing off to people constantly. Like I just wasn't myself. So and it wasn't working either. It wasn't even doing what it was supposed to. When I was yeah, of course. When I was 15, a doctor, an OBGYN, recommended that she put me on a pill that would put me into menopause. So I just wouldn't get a period. That was their only other solution. Okay. So all those things happen. I'm in college and I'm like, this is stupid. I'm not taking this anymore. So I went to my OB when I was home on Christmas break and I said, hey, she did her exam. And I was like, one last thing before you walk out the door, I don't need a birth control prescription anymore. I don't really want to take it. And she was already turned around to walk out the door. She turned and looked at me, scoffed, and said, well, I'll just leave your prescription open because you're going to be back for it. And I was like, okay. There's no discussion about post-birth control syndrome or how it feels coming off the pill after being on it for 6 years. None of that. So I just cold turkey stopped taking it and didn't support my body, didn't change what I was doing. And I remember going back to school after Christmas break and having legitimate panic attacks in my dorm room, which is something I've never experienced. It was horrible. I was having withdrawals from these hormones and I was not supporting my body in any way, shape, or form because my provider didn't tell me to. So I still wasn't of the holistic mindset. I went a couple more years of just dealing with the painful periods because I didn't want to take birth control anymore.
Right.
And finally I stumbled across the whole pro-metabolic way of living and it just made sense to me and I dove in head first. I had a history of diet culture and gym culture and that probably contributed to a lot of my pain as well from under-eating and overtraining. And once I kind of heard everything that made sense about functional nutrition and pro-metabolic eating and that I didn't need to restrict and that was making things worse and not better, I dove in head first to a fault. Of course, I did gain probably more weight than I should have, but I felt better for the first time. And so when I discovered that this was all like okay to eat good whole foods and eat enough, I decided to go back to school for functional nutrition because I think this is a message that is missing I know it's a message that's missing from young women's lives. So my goal is to eventually be able to, even if it's just, I live in my hometown, if I can go back to a high school or something and talk to young girls that are just hitting puberty or are about to go off to college and let them know that there's a way to solve their emotional problems, their physical problems, whatever, without going on medication for it and just really treating their body well from a standpoint of like the basics. It doesn't even have to be eating pro-metabolically, but just knowing how to treat yourself well enough. Don't overtrain, don't undereat, because it does not serve you in the long run. Like that would just be awesome. Because if I had that earlier on, it just would have made all the difference. So that's why I went back. And originally I wanted to kind of do more training when I was done with school to be in women's health, but now I'm really seeing a need for autoimmune care because our system, the medical system, is meant for acute care. They don't listen to you for more than 10 minutes, and it takes much longer than 10 minutes to diagnose and treat autoimmune disorders. So there's such a big gap there for care. And I'm not trying to be a doctor, but I think there needs to be someone in between doctor and patient because I was talking to one of my primary care providers and he was saying they don't get more than 10 minutes. So it's not even their fault. They need someone in the middle to kind of gather the information, organize it. And I want my future clients to be able to take that to their doctors and kind of piece everything together. So that's my goal eventually when I finish school.
Yeah. I love that. Where are you in school right now? Or like what program are you doing?
The functional nutrition lab. So I looked at, what's the other one that's really popular? Nutritional therapy practitioner. I was going to go for that. I realized that it aligned very much with what I was already believing and learning about pro-metabolic nutrition. And so I really wanted to kind of challenge that. Not that functional nutrition is the opposite in any means, but there's definitely some conflicting viewpoints. And I wanted both sides because I was hearing the functional nutrition side of things and I'm like, well, that's not right. But my only reasoning for saying that was because I had heard what I'd heard about pro-metabolic nutrition. So I'm like, I think I need to challenge myself and understand that there's more than one side. And what I mean by that is I think the pro-metabolic way and lifestyle is a great goal point for some people, but a lot of people that have complicated problems like autoimmune diseases can't start there. So I would really like to be able to implement both in my practice if I ever have a practice, but we'll see.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. Oh, baby steps, baby steps.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so like let's go back to, things that you were doing in the past that you thought were healthy, that were, mainstream. And then
Oh,
of course,
yeah.
now that we've learned more, what were some of like the top three things that you would say you changed and you really focus on that were such a big part of your healing journey?
Okay, so I went through every diet imaginable, and it was like the fitness diets, not like the trying to just lose weight, but like intermittent fasting, because that was going to be better for my training and my body and all this stuff. That was horrible on me. I don't know why I did that. I was a horrible individual while I was doing that. I was cranky. It was awful. And I drink black coffee because it's 0 calories, right? So like you can, oh my gosh, looking back on that now, I'm like, holy smokes. And a quick side note, I did end up seeing a holistic doctor, and one of my main issues she recognized is adrenal problems. So hello, black coffee every morning before breakfast for like 8 years.
On an empty stomach, right? I know.
So that's literally like that's the first thing I changed when I heard about this pro-metabolic lifestyle, because that was an easy fix. I'm like, oh, I can eat breakfast first. That's fine. And I started feeling different immediately just from that. So that's huge. I took a break from the gym, and I was gym crazy. Like I was there 7 days a week at one point while I was a student athlete, which looking back, I don't know how I did that. I can barely get there today sometimes, but I would just overtrain. And at one point in high school, I was a volleyball player, so we would do cardio plus practice, and I would go to the gym and do at least an hour of cardio every day. And that was so stupid.
I know.
Just looking back on it now, I'm like, I see how I thought that was smart, but at the same time, like, I really didn't think much other than how many calories I was burning. So I stopped doing that, and then I stopped. I've always loved food, like a lot. Like, I love food so much. And so dieting was fine as long as I could have quantity over quality. So I would look for the lowest calorie, the lowest fat, the lowest carb option so that I could still eat a ton and binge on all this stuff, but I wasn't going over my macro goals. And looking back, like I was binging because I wasn't getting nutrients that I needed. And it's so obvious now, but like I can eat way less now of high quality foods and be completely full and satisfied. And I'm realizing now I wanted so much because I was getting so little when it came down to nutrients. So those shifts, I don't think even need to cost a lot. I don't think to dive into feeling better, you don't have to change all of that at one time. I think when we look at fitness influencers and holistic influencers, it can get really overwhelming because that is their livelihood. So they're obviously going to post about things that are more expensive that have helped them. And those things are really nice and they are helpful. I have 2 ear doctors in my home because my home is dusty. Like I get that, but it's really hard to start sometimes if you're overwhelmed by the huge picture of everything that you have to be healthy. And I could have even not eaten organic and still felt way better. My periods could have been better just from eating enough of foods that are bioavailable. Like, yes, organic is important, but we get toxins from other stuff too. I work at a place where I'm around chemicals all day long, and I've talked to my chiropractor, and she said that I have subluxations in my spine that come in the same pattern all the time because I'm exposed to these things. Like, it's a toxin. So what's the difference between that and me eating organic foods, So it can be a give and take. It does not have to be 100% all in all the time. And I think people miss out on that because it doesn't seem that way on Instagram.
Oh yeah. And I mean, I think that's like why I try to share like balance, because people in this space tend to not share a lot about their life that much. And I think it's important to say, oh yeah, I'm eating Chick-fil-A today, or whatever it is. It's okay.
I still enjoy Taco Bell.
Exactly. Like, because again, like you can't, and it's only, there's so much in our culture, in our world, that's only getting worse, but also you're going to drive yourself nuts trying to, avoid everything. I saw a post one time too that was, the apple or the conventional non-organic produce is still better than, going to like, a fast food chain every single day. So you're still making a better choice. So thinking about what you're able to do and running with that, and then just consistently building,
So the more you heal, your body should be able to withstand toxins like that. Like we weren't ever meant to be put in this perfect environment.
No, I love that. Yeah, exactly. Like you're just building resiliency and the ability
Yes.
to get through something, which is important. Um, so from like a budget perspective, what would be some, tips that you'd offer for people that maybe are restricted on a budget, they're not able to buy
Hmm.
all organic, or, should they start with nutrition? Should they focus more on lifestyle? What would you say are some things that you would recommend?
I think the free things first. So sleeping enough. I know that might not be free for some people if you have kids and I mean, I know that sleep is hard to prioritize, but if you're in a position where you can, making sure you're getting to bed between 10 and 11 o'clock and waking up early because the time that you are sleeping matters too. That's huge. I got an Aura ring. My husband got it for me for my birthday, and I, for the first time, able to see like the quality of my sleep. And I'm someone who loves to work, so I'll often work till 1:30 in the morning. And even if I
Oh, well.
sleep in, I'm like, Anna, it's still not the same as going to bed at 10.
Well, and
So
it's
like,
interesting, like there's so many, like I've seen people sharing too, like about your body and how, the 10 p.m. threshold, it's like you do get that second wind, but it almost makes
yes,
things worse because you're throwing off your circadian rhythm,
yeah,
and it's harder to get, yeah, you might still get 8 hours of
but
sleep,
it's
but
not the
it's not
same.
the same at all.
And I honestly never knew that until recently. I was talking to my holistic doctor, and she was like, you need to make a point when you eat dinner, before you eat dinner, when you get home for the day, go shower, go get your pajamas on, and when you feel tired, go to bed.
Hmm.
Because she said if you wait, you're actually stealing adrenaline from the next morning that wakes you up. So that's why you're more tired the next morning, because you already took the adrenaline from that morning to keep you up at night. And I was like, when she put it that way, like that's how
That's
my brain
interesting.
learns. I was like, oh, that's bad. So I
Maybe
was
I
like,
should stop watching Yellowstone till late at night.
exactly. Oh my gosh. I started Gilmore Girls and I just keep staying up and it's bad. It's really, I
Just
need to
one
stop.
more.
It is. And then you're like 40 minutes in, you're like, oh, yep, my
I know.
bad. So getting more sleep is huge. Um, Digestion, just making sure that you have like stomach acid and you're chewing enough and you're slowing down to eat. I still suck at that. I will grab breakfast on my way out the door in the morning and eat it in the car. I'll grab my lunch while I'm at work, walking around, talking to people. And like, that's something that I'm trying to fix right now, is just slowing down. It doesn't matter what you're eating. Like, just digestion is so important, and it's free to fix that for the most part.
Yes.
Like, you can do so many things. I think I have a post on like 5 free tips of just slowing down and helping your body digest your food. Um, there's just so many things that really don't cost money that can make all the difference, like eating before you have your coffee. Skipping your coffee if you can't find organic, as much as that would suck, but like regular conventional coffee is so bad for you. And I feel the difference now that I've switched. I don't get caffeine withdrawals anymore. I was talking to my doctor about this too, and she said that I was probably having like chemical withdrawals from the non-organic coffee. It wasn't even necessarily the caffeine.
Huh.
So there's just so many little things like that, and I go into a lot of them in my book of just, you don't have to start at buying an Air Doctor and a Berkey and all these things. The other thing is saving up for a whole hog or a half cow, or going half with another family, because if you have the ability to put that investment in the forefront, that's like the rest of the year that your grocery bill is not going to include meat. Like,
Yeah.
that's huge. And it's so nice to be able to like plan ahead and not have to be like, oh, do I even have pork loin in the freezer? Like, you can plan ahead with meal prepping because you know you have everything you need in your freezer. Meal prepping is huge too, so that you're not making stupid decisions at lunch. When I don't meal prep and the guys at work are like, hey, you want to go down the road and get food? I always say yes. Like, I'm not going to say no to that. So if I have meals already prepped, I'm less likely to go eat out during the week. So I think all those things more so take time, which I understand is also an investment. But if you don't have the money to spend, or you're not willing to commit the money yet, I think that's huge. The other thing is, there's so much free information on the internet these days,
Yeah.
that you don't need to buy a course. I've realized very quickly that courses are for people who maybe don't have as much time to invest or want the answers right away, because it's the same information that everyone's sharing, but it's just very well organized and put together. So if you're someone who's able to learn from scrolling through an Instagram or finding really good books to read on your own and take notes and pull from all of that yourself, I don't think you need to spend $300, $400 on a course. I think courses are very, very helpful, and a lot of times they come with helpful communities, but they're not the end all be all if you can't drop that amount of money on something like that. And I think a lot of people think like, oh, I'll start living this way when I can save up the $400 to take this person's course, but you don't have to wait. I think a lot of times that's just, I mean, I used that for a while for tracking my cycle, and that was just an excuse. I could have found the information online. I just didn't want to do the work. So you can make these life changes. Like, people made these changes before Instagram existed. You just have to be willing to put forth the time and effort.
No, I love that. Yeah. I think that having, finding however you learn best and starting with that, but then even again, if it's an ebook, if it's taking a course, if it's working with somebody one-on-one, or if it's just doing going through people's Amazon storefronts and buying all the books that they have saved, like I do, then you'll make progress that way. So yeah, I love that so much. So then how would you tell somebody who is in like that all or nothing mindset, and like perfection, and, they start something like this and they instantly feel guilt or shame because they're not able to do it all? What's the kind of, how would you share insight?
That's me. And I think saying this to myself, you just kind of have to get over it and realize that no one, even the people teaching these courses and doing the one-on-ones, like, none of us got this right the first time, and we're still figuring it out. And I think a big thing that has to be let go of, that our culture is huge on, is this like black and white mentality of this protocol is going to work and you have to go boom, 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 boom. That's not going to work for everyone. And that's one of the things that I see a lot with the pro-metabolic lifestyle, is almost becoming kind of black and white. And I don't think anyone has the intentions of doing this, but we are all so used to that mentality. We're seeing on TV the Weight Watchers and this protocol and the paleo diet, and that's all we've seen our whole life. And if you've come from diet culture, which it's hard to find a girl who hasn't from a very young age,
right,
you're looking for someone to tell you you can do this and you can't do that, and these foods are good and these foods are bad. And you can't look at it that way, because I can eat salads and I feel fine, but if I eat Brussels sprouts, no matter how they're cooked, I can't stop farting for 3 days. Like, my stomach does not like that. But I know other people that are the opposite. So to just say that these foods you shouldn't eat and these foods you should, and I think that's the problem with people. They're looking for a clear-cut answer because that's easiest to follow, because you're used to following all of these diets. And you have to understand, before you even go into trying to heal, that there's no clear-cut rules, really, and that you may start down a path that you think or you were told is great, and you need to be able to listen to your body and understand, okay, well, maybe this half of what I've learned is working, but I need to go back to the drawing board with the other half, because I can tell that it's affecting me in this way. Like with dairy, raw dairy I do pretty well with, and there's a couple brands of conventional dairy that's grass-fed that I can do, and then there's one that's conventional grass-fed that my body hates. But you have to be able to be paying attention, and that's never something I did. I never listened to my body. I listened to what it looked like, but I didn't make any adjustments based on how I felt.
Right.
And so I think, at least for me and my background of being in the gym day in and day out and thinking I had a hold on my nutrition, thinking that what I was doing was healthy, I was never paying attention to what my body had to say about it. So if you can go into this thinking like, I'm going to learn some stuff and I'm going to apply it and I'm going to sit back and listen and then adjust from there, you'll be fine.
I love that. Yeah, no, I think that, you always have to remember your own bio individuality. And even if you're working with somebody who can give you that advice, you still have to be your biggest advocate and make feedback. Those decisions. Yes. Yes. And I think even I struggle with that too, like actually doing a journal every once in a while and analyzing what could be causing certain symptoms. And I think, we always want to just chase the next symptom, and we always want to continue to, achieve that perfection, but realistically, you're just going to drive yourself crazy doing that.
Yeah.
But considering the things that happen, or if it's very uncomfortable, or like the things, that really can influence your life for sure. But again, just because I think it's like separating the fact that, yes, you should be looking into foods that are more metabolically supportive, more nutrient dense, aren't just going to have, eating does matter and how you do it, But at the same time, there is still a balance and personal element to that where, you know, you can still also do other things that
Exactly.
may not be in that realm and you're not going to die. I think I
Yeah.
have, there was a, like one girl was starting to, you know, in the pro metabolic space, it's definitely more, you know, like, no, like not as many like legumes and beans and then
Mhm.
even like cruciferous vegetables and people start, it was just kind of crazy that, you know, at that point women are like, oh, well, can I not have broccoli ever again? Or, you know,
Yep.
cauliflower. And I'm like, no, like we can never get to a point where we demonize any whole food.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of, are you eating it every day and do you feel well eating it? If
Exactly.
not, then think about obviously where that is. But
And I don't even
yeah,
think
I
like
love that.
to play off that, I don't even think that it's like individual creators in this space. It's not them making this into a black and white. It's all of us. And I've done it too. Like when I
Yeah.
first learned about it, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't eat salads anymore. Well, that sucks because I love salads. And I'm like looking back on it now, I'm like, Anna, that's because every single diet that I followed and the way I've been eating for a decade has been about yes and no. Like that's just where we've been at. So it's that in and of itself is a battle, is being able to break free of all of that. And I'm wondering if you don't come from a history of dieting, if that's any different. I would assume so, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
And who
I
is
know.
that? Who has not come from dieting? If you're out there, let's talk. Just kidding. Okay, well, this was amazing and you're a wealth of knowledge. So I want to hear a little bit about Root Apothecary and what you do with that and like, you know, that whole thing. And then also just how people can find you, support you, this new ebook you have, and all of that.
Of course. So I started Root Apothecary back in July is when we opened. But
Oh,
before
wow.
that, I had been, yeah,
New. That's
it is.
amazing.
Before that, I had been making my own stuff because kind of like when I ventured into the whole holistic space and realized that like you get the idea that everything is toxic everywhere, so that's great. And like I said, I'm someone who dives into stuff, so I didn't really go by the when it runs out, replace it. I was just like, nope, we're replacing everything. So I threw everything out and I bought all this new stuff, but I didn't know what greenwashing was. So I went and bought Meyer's cleaner because it looked clean. And so then I found out about greenwashing and I was like, are you kidding me? All this stuff that I just bought and spent hundreds of dollars on because it's clean is just as bad as what I just threw out. So I was kind of over that and I was like, I'm just going to make my own stuff because I'm going to know exactly what goes into it. And that's it. I don't have to worry about it ever again. So I did that. And then I was like, okay, well, I like the stuff I'm using way more than pretty much anything I've ever bought. So why don't I try to share it?
That's amazing.
So I did that. And then I realized I couldn't keep up with the demand, or I probably wasn't going to be able to keep up if it was just my products because I do work full time. And so I started seeking out other businesses that I really liked their values, the people who ran it, and their ingredients, and started adding them to the shop. And then I kind of just flew by the seat of my pants and tried to figure it out. And I'm still figuring it out, but it's been so much fun. And my dad owns a manufacturing business he has for 42 years. And it is my goal to purchase that from him someday. That's where I work now as an engineer. And I realized that he built that from the ground up. And there's a lot of lessons as a business owner that you miss coming in when it's been established for 42 years. So that's kind of my other motivation behind starting my own business. No matter what it was going to be, I wanted to start something because there's a lot that you need to learn, whether it's making sure you have a lawyer, making sure you have insurance, making sure that everything you're doing is legal, taxes. I hate taxes.
Yep.
All of that. I realized that I needed to learn. So I really hope to have a course, an affordable course eventually on starting your own business, small business, whether it's specific to what I'm doing, start one just like mine or whatever, just so that other women can do the same, because I had the guidance of my dad and I realized that I'm extremely blessed and lucky to have that. But for someone who didn't grow up with parents as business owners, I don't know where I would have turned or how much I would have done wrong. So I do hope to do that probably sometime in 2023. Right now I'm trying to figure out how to ramp up production and speed up shipping to meet demands, because I do work full time, like I said, so it's hard to find a balance. And I also don't want to make my adrenal fatigue worse by overworking, which I tend to do very easily. So that's what I'm trying to figure out right now. I will be releasing an ebook all about learning about the pro-metabolic lifestyle without having to drop all of the money on a course. And I want to say this, I am not bashing people who have pro-metabolic courses. I took one and I think they are the most helpful, and you can get the information you need the quickest because you can turn it on, listen to it in your car, whatever, everything's spelled out for you, but not everyone can afford that right away. So
Right.
I'm trying to make kind of like an entry-level resource for $29 that you can read when you have time, and it hopefully gives enough guidance to where you can start out on the journey on your own. And then if you still need more clarification, save up for a course. But at least in the meantime, the people that are sorting through all this information on Instagram and are overwhelmed, it will hopefully give some guidance and direction. So that's in the works. There'll be a preview for my recipe book that's coming out in 2023. And that book, it's also a workout guide because I do have powerlifting history and I love powerlifting. So I kind of made a workout guide that's 8 weeks in there and then some 15-minute circuits. And I go into working out cyclically as a woman and some resources to learn more about that. So nothing dives super, super far in depth, but it kind of points you in all the directions that you can go to learn more on a lot of different subjects like cyclical workouts or period tracking and all of that. So that will hopefully come out soon. I have to put a stop to how much information I'm adding and just say it's done.
I know.
So
you can
I'm
always
working on
add it
that.
back in.
I know. I'm like, I was thinking about that, just giving people like lifetime access, and if I change it, I'll just send out a change. But still figuring out how all that works and copywriting and all of that. So hopefully that'll be out like January is my goal. We'll see.
Yeah, girl, you got a busy plate. Take some time this holiday.
I know. I need to just chill. Christmas is my favorite time of year, but it's not snowing, so it doesn't feel like Christmas time.
It's not, yeah, it never snows in Georgia where I'm at, so I'm out of loss. But, well, you're doing so many amazing things, so don't stop. And I can't wait to see all that you're doing. And I'm definitely going to start looking more into shopping with you and supporting your business.
Yeah.
So, let me know if I can do anything else. But again, great conversation. I'm going to post it to my feed for anyone that wants to watch. It's also on YouTube. But yeah,
Awesome.
I wish you the best.
This was so much fun. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. Merry Christmas and happy holidays.
Too.
Merry Christmas. But I hope you have a great rest of your week, and I'll talk to you soon.
Awesome.
Thanks, Anna.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.